Hello, welcome to our presentation. We hope you enjoy. When looking back to the history of women in the workforce, the only real female-dominated profession in many ancient cultures, aside from hawking, was in prostitution. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution that women gradually started to enter the workforce. Although a lot has been done to improve social practices and implement reforms to empower women, gender inequality in the workforce persists. In 2003, Norway became the leader in the fight for gender equality by implementing a voluntary gender quota of at least 40%, which later in 2008 was made compulsory. So should the Netherlands adopt the same quota of at least 40% of the board directors have to be women as in Norway?
Today, women account for about 70% of the global consumption demand and control about $28 trillion in annual consumer spending. Companies have long overlooked half of the world's population and thus half of the world's talent. But for companies to thrive and grow, corporate boardrooms need to reflect the diversity of its consumer base. By accessing the underutilized talent pool of qualified, competent, and motivated women, companies are able to bring diverse perspectives to the table, understand customer preferences better, ensure greater due diligence, and as a result, make better decisions. It has been proven time and time again that this strengthens the company's competitive advantage as well as its financial performance. Norway was the first country in 2008 to legislate and enforce a gender quota law, leading the way to gender equality.
In the Netherlands, we acknowledge that women, now more than ever, are performing well in education, often even outperforming men. Therefore, we know that women are more than capable to join the board of directors and do an outstanding job. However, the Norwegian Code states that all public companies in Norway are obliged by law to ensure that at least 40% of their board of directors are women. In the Netherlands, this will be discrimination against men. As Article 1 of the Dutch Constitution states, all who are in the Netherlands shall be treated equally in equal cases. Discrimination because of religion, belief, political affiliation, race, gender, or any other ground is not allowed. The Norwegian Code only states that there should be a minimum of 40% women on the board of directors, but fails to mention a number of men, which goes against the principle of equality. Thus, the Norwegian legislation should not be adopted in the Netherlands.
Moving on to a different viewpoint, while not all studies agree that women on boards make companies better, most do acknowledge that the presence of women often has an effect on the decisions of the board ultimately arrives at. A 2008 study found out that gender-diverse boards allocate more time and effort to monitoring and are more likely to hold CEOs accountable for poor stock-driven performance. Such an atmosphere of accountability will undoubtedly change the decisions that the board makes. While men are more concerned about strong internal controls and keeping up with new regulatory environments, women are particularly concerned with succession, growing the senior staff, and sustainable shared values, which tends to lead to better performance.
However, when hitting the gender quota becomes mandatory, qualifications often fade into the background. When studying the impact of Norway's 40% quota, Kenneth Aron found that the quota led to younger and less experienced boards, increases in leverage in acquisitions, and deterioration in operating performance, consistent with less capable boards. When comparing this to the Netherlands, where a hard law about gender quotas hasn't been introduced, we see a steady growth of the number of female directors over the years, with 18.7% in 2018 to 30.4% in 2022. This shows that a law is not necessarily needed, and that women with a full-time job already reach the top relatively often. The reason there currently aren't more female board members in the Netherlands is not caused by their gender, but is a result of the fact that Dutch women work part-time much more often, over 70%, than men, 17%. Thus, the focus shouldn't be on gender, but on skills and character traits.
During this discussion, we advanced arguments for and against the adoption of the Norwegian 40% quota and considered whether such legislation should be adopted in the Netherlands. We found that women are more capable of joining the board of directors and are great additions to any board. However, implementing this law in the Netherlands would be discrimination against men. Besides that, when hitting the gender quota becomes mandatory, qualifications often fade into the background. Thus, the law should allow for a natural growth of the number of female board directors, and companies should focus on skills and character traits instead of gender. Thank you.